So here's one of the first scenes that we get to look at from day one. This is from Dallas. Dallas normally does daily updates, and so day one of 68. This is one of the shortest day markers basically that we've had for the Chosen so far. In season 3 and season 4, it was much closer to 80 days than 68, and so it's great that they got it down that far. It saves a lot of money if they can do that, and of course they're shooting a ton of stuff here in Utah, so that helps a lot that they're not having to move locations a ton like they did in season 3 and even in season 4.
Annette.
Got a character coming up. So I'll go back and show you that one more time. We've got a character coming up the steps. Let me know if you can tell who it is.
Annette.
And then we got a woman that is right there. If you can see the left of the screen, she looks over. She's pulling some sort of cart. Then she drops some pottery on the ground and looks over at our character. Not exactly sure what that is, but really, really interesting. If you look carefully, you can see the character is Thomas. So we see Thomas here, obviously looking a little bit different than we've seen him before. He's got a cloak on, kind of covering himself, kind of a little bit, undercover a little bit. It seems like a lot of the apostles and even Jesus, some of their outfits throughout the season are moving towards this more like, hey, let's be a little bit discreet sort of feeling. And so they all have kind of hoods and they have long outer garments on top of their normal clothes. And so that's what we're seeing with Thomas here as well. So there's Thomas there. Yeah. Move on here. Now here is another scene, similar location here, but we're in another scene set up right here.
Action.
Now here we're going to see another part of that same scene we were just looking at, and this has Matthew walking through a crowd, and listen carefully to what Dallas says here.
And spit.
So he says, and spit. So there's someone that's upset with him and spits at him right here in this location. Not 100% sure who that is or why that is. Possibly could be an antagonist that we were introduced to last season. Again, spoilers, so I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but if you haven't watched season 4, might not be the best for you to watch behind the scenes of season 5. But obviously season 4, Kaufney being a big part of that. Could be Kaufney, could be one of the Pharisees, could be another group. I doubt it's like a Roman or someone like that, but it could be that as well. Could be really anybody, but we don't really get a full look at this, just that someone is spitting at Matthew. So we'll take another look at that real quick.
And spit.
So he gets spit on, and then that's kind of the end of what we see. We get a lot more people taking pictures on set. So of course we got the brothers right there. They're going to be on the live stream tonight as well. And that's a wrap for day 1, season 5. New season, same trouble, back at it again. So here is Simon Z, of course, a la Safi, who wasn't there day 1, but then showed up on day 2 to do some scenes there. And he says, what do you mean day 1? I've been here the whole time. Let's roll, chop, chop. And the scenes that he was shooting were actually with Atticus. And so this is really interesting as well, at least part of the scenes that he was doing. Now, this is where we see Atticus for the first time for season 5, and he looks a lot different. If you remember, in season 4 and in season 3, he had the big insignia on his chest of the SPQR, and kind of showing that he's a Cohorte Urbanae. But this looks totally different, way more like regular Roman-like, if that makes sense. So I wonder if there's a change that specifically happened here, or he just happens to have a new outfit for the season. They thought it would be more appropriate for the Cohorte Urbanae. It does look more looks closer to what I know as the Cohorte Urbanae outfits, more Romany and less kind of like undercover cop, if that makes sense. So I wonder what that's about, but it is the first time we see him, which is cool to see. here is two sides of the same scene that we're seeing between Z and Atticus here. So let's watch this.
Jesus is in real danger. No, I don't have to tell you.
So I think he says Jesus is in real danger, but I don't have to tell you that. I think that's what he says. And then he says something else on this other side.
Have a little chat with you about the seriousness of your situation. Come on.
He says, have a little chat with you about the seriousness of the situation. Come on. And so Atticus is obviously talking to Z about what's going on with Jesus and obviously telling him, hey, you know that this is a big, serious situation. Why is he here? Maybe kind of reprimanding him for, not protecting Jesus in the way that he thinks he should. Atticus obviously doesn't want any big trouble during this time, especially during Passover, especially during all this other stuff. And he's trying to protect Pilate most likely as well, right? As we know from season 4, Pilate is on a tight rope when it comes to his position, right? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that is the question, Ellie, for sure. The real question is whether or not Atticus will be eating in this scene. Well, he hasn't been eating recently, right? Like most of the scenes we've seen him in more recently, he really hasn't been eating, but that is a good question for sure. He calls him Z there as well, which is an interesting way for Atticus to call him,
Wasting my time. I came here.
So he says, Z, you're wasting my time. I came here to, and then it cuts off. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. What you're watching right now is an excerpt from our live stream that we did Sunday night. Every single Sunday night, we're going to be going into the behind the scenes of The Chosen Season 5 as they filmed throughout the entire season. So if you want to see every little bit that we went through, there's some stuff that aren't going to be in these videos on this channel. Make sure you go to snipesupport.com, and that's the best way to help support us and to see all of the behind the scenes for Season 5. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you go over there. Let's get back to the video. So here's a big walk and talk scene with the group, but I think this is later on in the season, or at least an episode or two in. We're seeing the group walk, but a lot of them have completely different clothing, and so we'll see how that goes. And we'll get a closer look up on this too. So you can see Jesus here has this shawl kind of over himself. It's a cloak, right, with a white hood, and I'm not sure exactly what that's for. Maybe it's just like, hey, it's cold, let me wear this, and he has his normal clothes underneath. I'm not 100% sure what this is, but a lot of them have different clothing with scarves or complete cloaks on, so we'll see. There's Dallas as well, giving us another image of it. We see Jesus there, and then we see Big James and Andrew and Thaddeus and Little James, and we see Luke Dimian, and all the apostles are here basically walking with him during this walk and talk. Matthew and the girls are even in the back there. Thomas at the very, very back, which is maybe another key thing we have to keep in mind as well. So there's a picture there. You can zoom in and see Luke Dimian. At first I was like, are they trying to hide a character from us? You can see this guy right here with the covered kind of hood there. He just covered his whole face. I think that's just Luke Dimian. But someone who is here along with them is Joanna. So I wonder if Joanna is going to start traveling with the group. Remember, she left her husband last season. And so maybe she's going to be a more permanent part of the group. That would be really, really interesting to see. So yeah, 6 here. See this huge blue screen. And then we see the field and then that. So Dallas, I think, is trying to avoid all the important parts of this scene by showing us kind of the big boom arm and then kind of the outskirts of what's actually going on. This road right here is going to be the road in which they come in on for the triumphal entry. And we know that because there's so many other people that showed us other angles of this. And so we're going to watch those in just a second as well. So we see this here, which of course is the blue screen. We see in the middle there that there's a gate with palm trees, and we also see a bunch of extras with palm branches. I know it's going to be really hard to see. Don't worry, we'll get way closer up in just a second here. But you can see that right there, all the people with palm branches over there, and then a big gate right in the middle. This is, of course, the triumphal entry, and I think this is what they really have focused on a lot of the time last week, at least the ending of last week. And so let's continue on here. Again, we got those big tractors there, these big boom trucks that are holding these blue screens for the CGI effects. Remember, what is going to be behind this location is going to be the temple. It's going to be the Temple Mount. It's going to be the rest of Jerusalem. That's why they're putting these big blue screens, so that they can basically cut out anything they need to and put it back there. If this is the triumphal entry and they're coming into the city through the eastern gate, that is into the Temple Mount, basically. So they're going to probably have the temple right there, right above the gate as they go into it. And there's the gate right there. So you see the gate, it does look very reminiscent to the cutouts that you see at the actual temple. I can tell you that because I was there like 2 weeks ago, almost to the date. So yeah, it looks very reminiscent of what would have been there for the temple for sure. Now here we see Matthew as he's being driven away. You see all the people with palm fronds here lining the streets. As far as I know, they've probably been given something to say as well during these times. We'll actually hear a little bit of a snippet of that, maybe a little bit later. But of course, we know from the Bible, they're going to be saying, Hosanna, Hosanna, right? And they're going to be cheering for him to be there and to be a new king, basically. Not quite understanding what his actual purpose is. So, yeah. We see the rest of them there. Everybody holding palm fronds as Matthew kind of goes away. We see all the extras coming in. A lot of people there for sure. This is Lada Silva, who is riding on the cart here back to the tent. And then, of course, we get another shot here of the people with the palm fronds. But this is actually into the temple. And so they're going to be lining their way into the temple.
Into the side, okay? We're going to spread it out and around.
Of course, everybody trying to chill out for a bit. It's really hard work being an extra out here. I mean, when we did it last summer, we were out there for 12, 13 hours. Some days it was a lot of work. So now this, obviously, if we have a triumphal entry, we need a donkey. Now this one was really funny. They have this cart here in order to basically control exactly how they want to shoot Jonathan on the donkey. And so they don't have to have him riding the donkey the entire day, which would be a nightmare, I'm sure. And so they have this cart, obviously, with the ears and the donkey at the same height that the actual donkey is that they're using. But that way, Jonathan doesn't have to sit on it the entire day, and he can continue to do all these shots over and over again while using this donkey here, which I thought was hilarious. So let me go back there real quick. Daryl actually shows us a little bit of what they're saying here, and that will kind of clue us in on what they're going to be saying during the scene. So you hear them shouting over and over again, Hosanna, son of David, Hosanna, son of David. So interesting stuff there.
You gonna run it?
Exactly.
You can put it on like 10.
46? Is that what Thunderstruck is?
That's like just below an average donkey.
Oh, okay, we didn't check exactly which, I mean, it ain't gotta be exact, I'm sure.
But it was pretty close if that was him they had out earlier today in the field.
So they're just talking about the height of the donkey, talking about what their donkey's height actually is and how tall this one is, and trying to make it as exact as possible. I hope you like this sneak peek of The Chosen Season 5 behind the scenes filming. There's a ton of stuff that's going to be happening over the next few months, so you do not want to miss it if you want to keep up to date with what's going on with The Chosen. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell notification to see every single time we put out a new video. It really helps out the channel as well. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do, and if you want to see even more behind the scenes, go over to our Patreon at snipesupport.com. Anyway, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.